This week on the Big Story podcast, a thriving city falling deep into despair.
These problems have come to a choking point where it's not sustainable. They'll sell drugs to a 7th grader, they'll sell drugs to your pregnant mom.
Skyrocketing housing costs putting people on the streets.
There's a whole nother class of people who are becoming homeless that in other states don't become homeless. Working poor, teachers, baristas, bartenders, living in cars.
A mass exodus leading to population loss.
We lose a lot of our economic fuel. Our folks who are working in our restaurants, who are, doing construction, who are doing all these things that basically fuels the city. It's a struggle for the soul of the city, and it's not lost.
Next on the Big Story podcast. Hi, I'm Joe Zarinko, a producer here at Big Story. The city of San Francisco has long been a symbol of U.S. entrepreneurial spirit, the financial center of the West Coast, as well as a hub for the technology industry. San Francisco has epitomized the American dream, but in recent years, the city by the Bay has been besieged by troubling changes. Enduring an addiction epidemic, stark inequality, and rampant homelessness. Big Story correspondent Jason Motlagh traveled to San Francisco to report on the decline of this great city, root out its causes, and document the personal stories behind the headlines and the statistics. This episode of the Big Story podcast is called Homeless: Inequality in the U.S. While he was reporting from San Francisco and the Bay Area, Jason spent a lot of time with the inhabitants of the Wood Street Commons, a self-run camp under the Interstate Highway 101. A place like so many others in the region, it's where the unhoused gather to create community and a sense of belonging. It's also proof that when all other social safety nets have failed, humans can still look around and find each other. Here's Jason from the Wood Street Commons.
Today, the average rent for an apartment in San Francisco is $3,300. With a state minimum wage of $15 an hour, this is an impossible sum for the working class. Last year, California had the highest rate of homelessness in the U.S., accounting for 30% of the nation's total. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the number of people without a stable place to call home increased by at least 22,500 over 3 years, to more than 173,000. Homeless encampments have multiplied, in parks, on back streets, under bridges, wherever space can be found.
It is really hard, and I had 2 jobs at one point. I worked in a restaurant and also did catering on the side and stuff. Me for a 1-bedroom would be $1,800 plus every month and stuff, which there's no possible way I could have ever afforded that. Not working in the restaurant industry and stuff, and still working, 60 hours a week and stuff. It would be just to pay my rent and to pay my little bills and not really enjoy my life at all.
Oakland native John Janasco lost his job after a bout with drug addiction. For the past 3 years, he's lived at the Wood Street Commons, a sprawling, self-run camp under the interstate.
We moved down here because the city of Oakland, the police department, told us at one point when we were in North Oakland that if you go down to Wood Street, you guys would be okay, you won't be bothered, and we came down here and basically set up shop. And everyone that came down here made the best out of the situation because they were told to come down here, and they did what they could to give it a homely feel, and we just turned it into a more community. And people have to share certain things because you interact with one another and you get that human connection and that, that bond that is built between people.
Beyond the confines of these infamous tent cities, There's a striking contrast on the streets of San Francisco. Income inequality. The city has the highest income gap in California. At one extreme, the vast wealth of the Silicon Valley, and at the other, the destitute trapped in a vicious cycle and trying to get out. On this, we hear from a city official, Dean Preston, the first socialist Democrat elected to the city's Board of Supervisors.
We have a lot of real estate investment in San Francisco that is about buying property to try to see it appreciate in value and then sell it, not about making it a place to live. This is not someone just forgot to do something that was going to house people, right? This, in some sense, is by design. I mean, if you continue to have a society in which housing is viewed as a commodity, not a human right, it's going to be priced out of reach in a urban area that has high land values and that has been, the focus of such intense real estate speculation. The costs have just gotten completely out of hand. San Francisco often feels like a place that is capitalism gone wild, really gross wealth inequality, income inequality, homelessness issues that persist, but also connected to that is not really having a path out of that because of the unaffordability of housing locally. We have 75 billionaires in the Bay Area, any one of whom could write a check and fund housing for everyone in San Francisco who's homeless. And they wouldn't even notice their bank account, right? I mean, it wouldn't change their quality of life one bit, right?
Historically, San Francisco has a reputation for its progressive politics, for social equity, and yet the homelessness problem continues to grow compared to a lot of other American cities. What's gone wrong here and in California cities in general compared to the rest of the country?
First and foremost, the homelessness crisis in San Francisco is driven by exorbitant housing costs and a refusal to scale up social housing or other forms of affordable housing so that people have a pathway out of homelessness. So I think a lot of times people are looking at homelessness issues, they see the visible side of homelessness. So they see people experiencing drug addiction, mental health trauma and crisis on the streets. I think often what's underestimated is how much of that results from being homeless. And in my experience as a former tenant rights lawyer who's defended against thousands of evictions, worked to pass a right to counsel in San Francisco to prevent evictions. I mean, I've seen people who are stably housed who lose their homes and then go into a spiral because they're living on the streets.
One of the people Jason interviewed while he was reporting for this story was Joe Wilson. He's the director of Hospitality House, a community center and shelter based in the Tenderloin district. It's ground zero for the city's homelessness and addiction crisis. As the head of Hospitality House, Wilson draws from his own personal story to paint the reality of the unhoused.
Well, people assume that all homeless people are crazy or drug addicts or both. And there's an individual story behind every individual. And it's primarily my story. Combination of no family support, poor planning, bad luck, and I ran out of money, so I wound up on the street. Over the course of a year, 15,000 people come through Hospitality House. We have an employment program designed to reconnect folks back to the workplace. We find 250 people gainful employment. We have 400 people participating in one or more civic engagement activities. We have 10,000 people coming through both of our self-help centers, trying to, getting reconnected to something to take that first major step for themselves. I can tell you the personal experience with homelessness, that is the hardest obstacle to overcome. the power and the belief in yourself. When you've lost everything around you, all the trappings of identity, to find that core of belief in yourself that you still matter is challenging.
So your story is very much representative of the best of what's possible when proper support is in place to turn your life around.
What helped me more than anything else are people caring about me. And so the shelter itself really only mattered because of the people in charge of the shelter, the staff there at the shelter. I made eye contact with one of the workers, one of the staff at the shelter. He sent me out on one of my first paying jobs when I was homeless. The first paycheck I got in the mail, I used Hospitality House's mailing address, and I can still put myself in the middle of that drop-in center floor holding the envelope with my name on it. When I'd lost nearly everything else, but I held on to my name, someone had found me. Had I been a drug user when I was on the street, everything would have been harder. Everything would have taken longer. And so I'm feeling pretty good that, I didn't have a habit, because I'm not sure where I'd be.
With the emergence of fentanyl and other synthetic drugs in recent years, the addiction crisis and opioid epidemic in the U.S. took a turn for the worse. Fentanyl, a drug 50 times more potent than heroin, pushed the overdose rate into overdrive and claimed the lives of over 100,000 people in 2023. Let's listen to Matt Dorsey, a San Francisco city official.
I don't think anybody could have predicted or foreseen that a drug would come along that was so profitable that drug dealers could afford to kill the customer in the numbers that we're seeing. There is a cold-bloodedness to what is, for lack of a better word, that we are seeing right now in street-level drug dealing that I don't think any of us could have predicted. We lost 2,300 San Franciscans to drug overdoses since January of 2020 until the first quarter of 2023. Fentanyl is responsible for at least 3/4 of that. That is 9 times deadlier than all the homicides. And we are on pace right now as we sit here in 2023 for the deadliest year in San Francisco history.
There's evidence of drug use everywhere.
There go 1 that's been used, 2, 3, these are pulled out a needle.
In the media, San Francisco has become a caricature of urban decay, fueled by a steady stream of videos shared on social media.
What you guys smoking on, man? Right in front of the police, too?
Flash mob robberies, open-air drug dealing and bodies on the sidewalk, violent outbursts and other menacing behavior. Most of the videos are posted by locals who are simply fed up with the impunity.
My little partner's out here, get home safe, all right?
Richie Wynn is a lifelong city resident who refuses to look away. Earlier this year, a clip he recorded of children walking through a gauntlet of fentanyl addicts went viral and made him an unlikely activist.
These little kids gotta walk through this shit. It's crazy. Oh my God, it almost brought tears to my eyes because, like angry tears almost, like I was just infuriated by it. I was like, man, they just have to do something for these children. I grew up in a household where you've seen a lot of drug dealing, a lot of drug use, and it shaped the way that I grew up. And and I don't want the next kid to have to be exposed to that. That's where I draw the hard line, man. We shouldn't have to be resorting to our kids walking through madness like that. Well, I have a criminal history and I was a dope dealer, but even when I did do that, there was a certain level of morals even within inside that lifestyle that I lived. The individuals that are out there operating right now, they'll sell drugs to a 7th grader, they'll sell drugs to your pregnant mom, they'll let them shoot up heroin or fentanyl or smoke methamphetamine right there on the spot.
Nowhere in America are drugs sold so freely.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting just a little ridiculous, you know, to the point to where these problems have come to a choking point where it's not sustainable. These small businesses, they're all struggling. Even the big businesses are struggling.
The situation reached the point where San Francisco saw significant population loss, experiencing an exodus of residents. Listen to these stats from Jason and the perspective from Jennifer Friedenbach from the Coalition on Homelessness.
As the cost of living and crime continue to rise, people are leaving the city in record numbers. From 2020 to 2022, San Francisco lost some 65,000 people, or 7.5% of its population, the largest decline among major U.S. cities. The exodus is having a big impact on the city's tax base, funds that are critical to resolving the housing crisis and other social problems. The Comptroller's office estimates the city could lose up to $200 million in property taxes by 2028. Plunging commercial and residential home values have stoked talk of a doom spiral and the need for federal intervention.
We're always pushing the local city. You know, there's the caveat there is that really a lot of this stuff has been dumped on them, and they really don't have the tax base currently to be able to address these huge issues that are facing the entire nation. And so the federal government needs to do a lot more in ensuring that there's affordable housing. They have very small amounts of money invested towards that.
Instead of funding more heavy-handed policing, Friedenbach says available resources should be used to protect those who are in jeopardy of losing their homes.
The Tenderloin is the poorest district in San Francisco. It is home to a lot of the cheapest housing, but now we're seeing this encroachment, and we're seeing a lot of market rate housing coming in. And so you have just this real estate pressure on the neighborhood that will result in displacement.
So if rents are less affordable, more and more people are out on the street. How are they regrouping?
The most important thing we can do in San Francisco and across the country is really make sure that people can hang on to their homes. This was certainly the case during the pandemic, right? Folks were losing jobs, but there's always these individual situations for people. They have catastrophic health issues. They have a temporary loss of job. You could have a casual worker that breaks their arm that's out of work for a period of time. I mean, all of these things for people who are living on the margins economically, these are the things that kind of tip them off and they end up losing their housing. So having rental assistance for folks, whether it's forever for the senior whose rent is slowly climbing up above their income, or temporary rent for people who just need a little bit of bridge money, and then everything in between.
Back at the Wood Street Commons, a surprise shakeup has taken place. Authorities have ordered the camp to be shut down and leveled to make room for a new urban development. The dozens still residing here have dispersed to pockets the authorities have yet to clear. John Janosko is staying in a small cabin on a concrete lot managed by the city a few blocks away.
So this is the new cabin community for Wood Street. It was created for the residents of Wood Street. It was LaTonda Simmons of the city of Oakland got a grant of $8.5 million to get this built for us. They're the cabins, they're the tiny homes. Everyone that's getting evicted, they were hoping that goes here are offering that people can go here. Temporary housing for people, but there's so many ways that they missed the mark, and there's still so much that needs to be done for these to be really acceptable for a place for people to, restart their lives.
Janosko says the cabins are sterile and restricted. The compound is fenced off. There are no communal areas, and guests are not allowed.
They don't want you to have more than, on the outside, and, it's all the little personal touches that make it a community and make it a home. If you can't express yourself where you're at, no matter where that is, then it's not home, you're not comfortable there.
He and other former Commons residents who have come here must move on within 90 days, or potentially face yet another eviction.
I do think it's a way to hide people, to hide us, but it's only a Band-Aid, it's only temporary, and it's not really It's not going to help, especially if people don't get permanent housing. I don't think it's a solution because you're not getting people off the streets. You're telling them that you have to be out in 90 days.
A lot of people have left California because life has gotten so hard here. Why are you staying?
I love the Bay Area. It needs people like me and Jazz and Sochi and all the people that are fighting for it and stuff. And right now, if you wake up every day, that means there's a possibility that you can do something that's going to change things. And this situation needs me, really. It needs me to be here, and I'm not going to leave until this is created, until we create that. And I won't leave, you know.
That's all for the Big Story podcast this week. Special thanks to our colleagues Caleb Lopez and Felipe Lozano Pucci here in our CGTN America studios. If you want to check out the full-length documentary, we'll drop the links on the show's notes, or you can just go to CGTN Now on Apple TV.